Nobody knows that Harley Quinn created the Joker. The alternate world of Batman White Knight reveals all the secrets of their shared past. Chapter 1. The Joker's true identity revealed. They say a smile is the best form of introduction. Harley does one better, spinning a wonderful synopsis along with her signature seductive grin and priming readers for the fresh canon we're stepping into. The truth is, I didn't meet the Joker in Arkham. We met long before then, when he was just Jack Napier. It was Jack I met, Jack I fell in love with, and I ruined him. The fluorescent orbs of the city give way to the night lights of a strip joint where we're treated to the first meeting of Jack and Harley. The former is a low-level thug in a powerful crime organization, and the latter works her way through medical school via polls and tips. Jack reveals his calling card, the Jack of Diamonds, traditionally a symbol of both trickery and triumph. The card carries with it a perception of good fortune. But when Jack's boss returns, bad fortune befalls the two. One of the boss's flunkies bumps into Jack and causes his drink to spill onto Harley. A rage overtakes Jack as he demands the no-name apologize to her. His boss insists he calm down, resulting in laughter at his expense. Retaliation proves unnecessary when Batman crashes the party. The vigilante seems more concerned with Jack's superiors, so the future Joker squirrels himself and Harley away under a table. While Batman wreaks havoc just beyond the tablecloth, Harley notices Jack's pale skin and different colored eyes. Fixating on the latter, she ventures to say that it seems like he has two different people inside of him. He retorts with the idea that everyone has a dark, hidden side, a statement Harley dismisses, but Joker again proves insistent. The sooner you learn to embrace it, the better. Anyone can glitter in the light. It takes a really special diamond to shine in the darkness. With lines like that, it's no wonder Harley fell for such a visionary. But evidently, this vision no longer involves Harley as, before her next breath, Jack vanishes from her side. She doesn't have time to collect herself as Batman immediately finds her. Her only comfort is a Jack of Diamonds that was left behind. We then return to the present where Harley has been recounting the story to her children, Bryce and Jackie, and hyenas Bud and Lou. The memory of the Joker lives on in these children, something that weighs on Harley as she puts them down for the night. Returning downstairs, she overhears a news report mentioning the latest in a string of recent murders that targeted Golden Age film stars. As if on cue, a member of the Gotham Terrorist Oppression Unit, GTO, named Duke Thomas, arrives with information on that exact case. In a macabre homage to their films, the victims' bodies have been painted black and white following their deaths. Harley initially refuses to help, but visits Stonegate Penitentiary to get some perspective on the matter. Along with Bud and Lou, she sits down for a chat with the man her children call Uncle Bruce. That's right, Bruce Wayne has turned himself in and begun serving time for his crimes as Batman. Ironically enough, it is the Caped Crusader who convinces the Joker's old sidekick to rekindle her ways. Gotham PD needs Harley Quinn's psychological genius. You might be walking a tightrope between madness and sanity, but unlike the last time, you have a safety net. Me, Duke, and Bud and Lou, you can handle this. And she does, reporting to the home of actor and film star James Turner and meeting her conspicuously named partner, Dr. Hector Quimby. This murder is particularly troubling for Harley as it triggers flashbacks to Jason Todd's captivity. Bathed in the crimson sheen of trauma, Mr. J screams at Harley as he carves at Todd's flesh. Regardless, she deduces that the culprit must be a Joker imposter. She then sheds the skin of Harleen Quinzel and ventures into the grimy twilight of Gotham. An irony even the Clown Prince would love. Rather than Batman, it'd be one of Mr. J's own creations, putting an end to his legacy for good. It's also a good time for endless videos from Plot Armor Comics, which you'll never miss by subscribing with notifications on. Chapter 2. The Joker Can't Be Cursed. If the culprit of the Golden Age murders is an imitator of the Joker, does that narrow down the police lineup? Significantly. In fact, Harley knows just who to talk to. Mary Ann Drews, usurper of Harley's mantle and now known as the Neo-Joker in tribute to her fallen lover. To make matters worse, the two thralls of Jack meet in the ruins of Amusement Mile, undoubtedly the site of many memories for both women. But the two are pros, hardly batting an eye before confronting each other. Harley straight up spears Neo-Joker through one of the nearby shanties and sputters an insult that would wound any self-respecting clown prince of crime. Neo-Joker, you were never a real villain. You're derivative at best. Damn, Harley, that's ice cold. And Neo-Joker takes it as such, dishing out a decent hit in return. Things only escalate from there as the two have a brief fight before Neo-Joker pulls out a blade. This weapon isn't meant for Harley, though. Instead, Neo Joker takes one of the hyenas hostage to halt the fighting. Before anything regretful happens, a shrill whistle steals both combatants' attention. A tea kettle. Neo Joker has been brewing some tea before Harley arrived. Herbal, in fact. The same kind Harley enjoys, which leads to the two former thralls of the Joker bonding over a cup. Neo Joker professes clean hands in the Gold Age murders, but is not entirely uninvolved. She has been visited by a mysterious man in the weeks leading up to the crimes. Calling himself the producer, this guy had name-dropped one of the recent victims and pleaded with Neo Joker to be his next starlet. It's something for Harley to go on, as well as an olive branch of sorts for her former rival. But a vicious vine soon snaps that branch, courtesy of Neo Joker's girlfriend, Poison Ivy, who is returning alongside the couple's accomplice, the Mad Hatter. Harley takes this as her cue to leave, and on her way out of Amusement Mile, drifts back to memories of Jack. These memories are bathed in the glow of day and awash in innocence. This is starkly contrasted by the pillaged present as Harley, Bud, and Lou stalk through the beautiful, bleak buildings. They eventually make it home and enjoy the park the next day. Montoya joins her and insists Harley answer some of Dr. Hector Quimby's questions. Quimby is a bit of a fanboy when it comes to Harley, particularly her relationship with the Joker. This becomes a source of tension between the two, with Quimby citing an article of Harley's that covertly used Jack as a test subject. This article, entitled Physiological Manifestation of Multiple Personality Disorder, is one Harley deeply regrets. But the episodes she's recorded prove vital to understanding the man's condition. He'd have uncontrollable laughing fits akin to seizures, and Harley was desperate for a cure. Studying Jack was her attempt at finding one. Sadly, it only catapulted him further into madness after he found her article. Feeling deceived by his one and only confidant, Jack would disappear. Weeks later, she'd get a visit from Batman, who would come across her article as well. "You're smart. Really smart. But if you want to be a good doctor, then you need to treat him like a patient, not like a boyfriend." And this is where Harley feels she let Jack down. She believes she was the only one who could save him, allowing her judgment to be clouded and preventing Jack from receiving the help he needed. This strengthens her resolve in the present, and just in time, too. As Quimby walks Harley home, another film star falls prey to the Golden Age killer, Simon Trent, known in the Hollywood circles as the Grey Ghost. Let's hope he remained in touch with the character. Chapter 3. Harley Quinn's Stalker. The show must go on. A common motto recited in the entertainment industry. It's a creed this Golden Age killer, this starlet, seemingly lives by as she dresses and paints Trent to resemble his on-screen appearance. The Grey Ghost is restrained in the light of a projector, which is currently running the opening credits of The Haunting of the Grey Ghost. But this isn't just some sick joke. Starlet is interested in Trent's dating habits during the making of the movie, particularly his relationship with the famously beautiful actress Sophia Valentine. Trent resists answering, resulting in a throwing knife piercing his outer bicep. Incited by this, the Grey Ghost undoes his restraint and retaliates with a hurling blade of his own. While this suppresses Starlet, it also knocks over several candles, giving way to an inferno. He attempts to call 911, but Starlet pounces and delivers a line both ominous and theatrical. "You're going off script, Simon Trent!" The villainess then whips out her makeup case and blows powder all over the grizzled actor, slipping away afterward. While Simon Trent is left to recover, Harley and Quimby stop by a diner for dinner while on the clock. The two are able to establish that the Golden Age victims were members of a group of powerful actresses known as the Dashing Dames. It sounds more like a wrestling stable, but nonetheless, this potentially points to the next victims. The two detectives are called to the site of the Grey Ghost attack, and we're taken elsewhere to the producer's hideout. Resembling an old-timey circus showman, our first introduction to the man is him antagonizing Starlet by using a real name, Ethel. He monologues, and we learn he desires to create a series of new villains in Gotham, the first of which is Starlet. Harley and Quimby arrive at the crime scene and are joined by Duke and Montoya. It's here, upon meeting with Simon Trent, that Quimby's parentage is revealed, Sophia Valentine. She was one of the Dashing Dames, pegging her as a possible target. Harley finds that the footage of Trent's interrogation cannot be saved, but the camera is from the Dark Room, a store specializing in old equipment. She agrees to accompany Quimby there in the morning, and the young agent begins to grow on Harley, mainly because he reminds her of herself. She illustrates this by conjuring up her days at Arkham, where she both dreaded and hoped for Jack to walk through the door and allow her to help. She reasons this must be similar to how Quimby feels, someone out there that needs help and only he can save them. In the morning, Harley meets Quimby in the Dark Room to continue their investigation alongside Duke. Good thing she decided to continue trusting Quimby because that very morning a package arrived on the store's doorstep addressed to him. This turns out to be an old recording of his mother, Sophia Valentine, being interviewed by someone off-screen. Hector, as a child, runs on screen much to his mother's dismay. The voice off-screen, though, proves more tolerant of the child. Valentine notices her tender nature and offers her a nanny job. Then, the video goes to static. As usual, Harley says what we're all thinking. That's it? No, but seriously, is that all we have to go on? Things don't get much easier when, upon finally meeting Quimby's mother, Harley is in for another couple of bombshells. First, Valentine had Hector because, in her view, it made her more sympathetic to the Oscar crowd. Wow. But then Harley is given the pleasure of visiting Quimby's childhood room, and as his mother describes, he was obsessed with Batman when he was a little boy. And when he became older, that infatuation shifted from Batman to you. We're talking cups, dolls, portraits, and even a welcome mat boasting Harley's likeness. Chapter 4. Batman goes to prison. How would Batman fare in prison? About as good as most of us probably expect. As he strolls through the cafeteria, his mere presence is enough to give every person in the room pause. Thankfully, none of them tried to engage with Bruce Wayne. A visit from Harley soon after proves to be a reflective exercise, as she finally recognizes what Batman had been trying to tell her back during Jack's disappearance. Maybe if I just let him go like you suggested all those years ago, he never would have fallen into the acid. He wouldn't have been arrested and brought back to Arkham. Maybe he'd still be alive. Harley then recounts the night Jack fell into the acid. A report of breaking and entering, accompanied by maniacal laughter on her police scanner, draws Harley to access chemicals. She tried out a couple of new looks before settling on striped leggings, a hoodie, and a mask covering her eyes. The costume hardly matters because as soon as she gets there, the info turns out to be legit. Jack and Mr. J are there. Joker beats down a man indebted to his boss, but is taking too many liberties with the man's life. Harley witnesses this and, further thrown off by her lover's freakish laughter, scurries backwards, right into a nearby chemical drum. The noise draws the Joker's attention and he tackles the intruder, but reverts back into Jack once he removes Harley's mask. The two share a poignant moment while Jack hides Harley away. Batman arrives to challenge him and Jack fires his gun, but the vigilante dodges it. The bullet then ricochets and hits Jack in the face, sending him over the railing. Though Batman tries to save him, Jack slips from his grasp and plummets into the vat of chemicals below, his card deck scattering to the draft of his descent. Harley can only watch helplessly as her lover is recovered from the acid. We return to the present with Bruce and Harley coming to grips with this history. Bruce reveals that he knew Harley was there that night and decided against turning her in. In a stunning comic book moment, Batman professes his sincere belief in Harley Quinn. He sees similarities between Harley and Quimby, with both wanting to prove themselves beyond their past associations. On the other hand, Harley finds Quimby eerily similar to Jack and the latter's obsessive compulsions. Exasperated, Harley laments what aid she can offer. I feel like I've been walking a tightrope, trying to find a balance between all these versions of myself. The doctor, the criminal, the converted good guy, the mom. I'm all of them, and yet I'm also none of them. If she can't even help herself, what hope is there for Quimby? Harley leaves the penitentiary contemplating this, casting a Harlequin-shaped shadow as we are hustled away to the Gotham Film Academy. Here, Starlet receives further chiding at the producer's hands and, like her own throwing blades, is once again hit with the name of Ethel. This triggers her, and she attacks with the aforementioned cutlery, but the producer simply bats them away with his cane. Slamming her to the ground, the producer declares her a disappointment and orders her to get cleaned up for the grand finale. This involves Quimby arriving at the theater, which she does incognito, complete with a shady baseball cap and all. Harley, donning her classic getup, gets a tip from Duke and intercepts the Green Agent. Accompanied by Duke, the trio enters the building but are soon separated. Starlet lures Harley and Quimby to an amphitheater where another projection has been put up. This video, similar to the one shown in the dark room, shows Quimby as a child. But instead of his mother, the woman in the video is Ethel, his nanny as a child. Brought to a halt, Quimby stumbles towards the screen as his drunken mother within the video hurls a liquor bottle at Ethel's face. This leaves the young nanny injured with a brutal scar across the right side of her face. Apparently, this had shattered Ethel's dreams of becoming a Hollywood starlet, but in a way, she had ultimately become one. Harley finds out the hard way as Starlet throttles her with some slack film. Quimby, seduced by this revelation, turns his weapon upon Harley. Chapter 5. Harley Quinn meets the Joker. The only thing capable of ruining a twist ending is a sequel, or a fortuitous face turn. In Harley's case, she was rescued by both when the story resumed. Quimby had turned his weapon on Harley, but just in her general direction. When he fired, his target became clear, the slack film holding Harley hostage. Once his associate is free, Quimby returns his attention to Starlet and pleads with her to stand down. The producer emerges and delivers a discerning declarative about Gotham that brings the entire room to a deadlock. Gotham is a stage, and the real celebrities are the villains, not false idols like Sophia Valentine. In fact, it's from her ashes that the true stars will rise. Jeez, this guy really doesn't like movie stars. Which probably means he wanted to be one at some point. Similar to how, in traditional comic lore, the Joker had been a failed comedian. Starlet approaches Quimby and appeals to his residual feelings for her. She explains that all she wanted was to be his Harley, something now stifled by the real Harley's presence. Starlet deploys her previous makeup case distraction, and as the smokescreen thickens, she taunts Harley with yet another concise, cutting insult. You always were the sidekick, never the leading lady. But even Ethel is unable to land that role, as Quimby continues to help his fellow detective in the aftermath. Before she comes to, though, Harley relives more of the torturous night when Jack fell into the acid. With him recovering at the hospital, Harley approaches her beau, but only finds this new guy, this Joker, in his place. She tries to talk to Jack specifically, but the Joker plays coy at first. Then, as they shuffle a deck of cards, the Clown Prince goes from manic to magnanimous. You might not know this, Harley, but I love you too. Maybe more than Jack. Because I love the dark and light sides of you. All of you. It's a killer line, harkening back to Harley's very first conversation with Jack in the strip club. Before he's transported to Arkham, the Joker leaves Harley with the Three of Diamonds, which can be interpreted a couple of ways. It could be a reference to satisfaction in one's professional life, thus encouraging Harley to continue in her psychiatry career. Or it may be a symbol of love. Another possibility is a nod to the three now involved in their relationship: Harley, Jack, and Joker. No matter the symbolism, the Joker leaves an unmistakable message scribbled on the card. Don't give up on me. This stirs Harley back to the present, where she finds herself in recovery at a hospital following the encounter with Starlet's powder. It turns out that the substance included Lily of the Valley, a plant that Poison Ivy had sold to them not too long before. While this isn't the best of circumstances to meet, Ivy further encourages Harley to synthesize all aspects of herself, for that is the only way to survive in this world. It seems Harley finally absorbs this message this time and returns home to recuperate. But Starlet is still on the prowl and wastes no time in attacking Harley at home. A massive explosion soon rocks her townhome. Incredibly, Bruce is made aware of the situation thanks to a news report in the penitentiary gym. In a blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment, he storms the control room of the guards and confronts none other than Jason Todd, the ill-fated Robin and current head of security, about some sort of response. Regardless of his title, Bruce taught Jason everything he knows. So of course, Bruce not only lifts Jason's clearance card, but his Red Hood apparel too, enabling him to walk out of the prison scot-free. But Bruce needs not rush because Harley already has backup: Bud and Lou, particularly the latter. In an act of bravery unlike anything we've seen so far from the Hyenas, Lou drags Harley and Bryce to safety, then returns to the blaze to fetch Jackie. And he does it. Jackie, though a little smoldered, lives, but the same cannot be said for Lou. He ends up succumbing to his injuries. This will prove to be Harley's final straw, and the start to Starlet's final act. Chapter 6. Harley Quinn saves Gotham. The most important night of Harley's life was a turning point in Batman's 2. On this fateful evening, the Joker abducted and tortured Jason Todd. Joker and Harley had been committed to an untold number of crimes at this point, but she had been strung along, hoping Jack would resurface one day. After seeing the young boy wonder nearly beaten to death, though, Harley finally snaps out of it. A reddish hue of remorse floats over the scene as she, backed up by Bud and Lou, corners the Joker. He gets physical and cuts Harley, leading to the Hyenas pouncing on him. Lou nurses Harley's wound and, in his way, pleads with her. Harley finally gets it. I know, Lou. You're right. We're leaving him. For good this time. Back in the present, Lou's gone, having given everything he had left for his family. Harley and Bud sit in the literal ashes of their lives when Montoya and Quimby arrive. They inform her that they no longer want her on the case as it's become too personal with Starlet. But there's no stopping her now. Harley leaves her GTO ID with them as she strolls out the door. She gets in touch with Batman, who's cruising in the Tim Burton-era Batmobile, and he reasons that her red getup is way too inconspicuous. He designs a suit more befitting the Bat family member Harley has become, retaining the Three of Diamonds motif but switching out the red, black, and white for black, gray, and yellow. He's even given her an adorable little mallet. Harley completes her look by adopting loose collar as a necklace. It's definitely an impassioned and stylish choice of wardrobe, fitting with her destination. A film festival honoring Sophia Valentine, which is the perfect target for Starlet to get Quimby's attention. Once Harley reaches the festival, she inevitably runs into Duke, and he gives her a communicative headset. But the producer hacks into her frequency and decides to relay his plan to her. A villain is only as good as their foe. And with Batman in jail, Gotham isn't only in need of a new rogues gallery, it needs a worthy hero. That hero is you, Harley Quinn. Even though Batman is now free, it doesn't matter. His plan can still work. Quimby rushes forward and tries to reason with Ethel, but she instead takes him hostage and disappears through a trapdoor. Beneath this particular theater, tunnels honeycomb the length of the ground underneath, something the employees are privy to. As such, Harley is escorted to another entrance to the depths and intercepts the fugitive and her prisoner. Quimby still wants to help Ethel, but Harley knows she's too far gone, just like Joker had been. By the way, that small mallet on her utility belt? Yeah, it can get bigger. It proves a great counter to Starlet's projectile blades, at least at first. One unlucky block sends a knife directly into Quimby's chest, and this brings the entire scuffle to a halt. Harley and Starlet both rush to his side, but the blood keeps coming. Even when Harley calls for backup, it's simply too late. Dr. Hector Quimby dies in both women's arms in the dank shadows of a grimy theater basement, a startling contrast to his life in the spotlight. Harley rises to her feet and resumes the mission, placing Starlet under arrest. Ethel takes this about as well as expected and tries to whip out that makeup powder weapon again. But Harley's been there, done that, and a hearty swing from her mallet puts Ethel down for the count. At this point, Duke and Montoya finally arrive to take control of the situation and escort Starlet out. Harley is given a surprise from fellow GTO member Harvey Bullock, a ring of keys with a bat accessory. Later, we see Harley, Bud, her kids, and their nanny approach a nice gothic house that is seemingly emitting its own fog. She clicks the keychain to reveal a garage door, which opens to the Batcave, complete with the Batmobile and a gift. Attached is a note. Welcome home. I know Gotham is in good hands. Love, Bats. P.S. Can't wait to see what you name her. Her turns out to be a brand new hyena pup, another hero in the making in a family rife with them. With the producer still at large, Gotham will need her. If you think this story's crazy, check out our video revealing the Joker's true identity as Batman's butler Alfred and how the Dark Knight reacted to the betrayal.